My grandmother is such a racist. She refuses to even talk to my mother. Why? Because my stepmother is Chinese. Even though I've always looked at her just like my real mom, she's always been there for me. It doesn't seem to matter, because grandma, well, let me explain why she hates her so much. Hello everyone, my name's Jules. I live with my father, Keith, and stepmother, Gemma. Gemma has 2 kids of her own from her previous marriage, Kit, 6 years old, male, and Mina, 5, female. My dad got divorced from my mother after she abandoned us a decade ago. He recently met Gemma, who had recently split with her own partner. They soon started dating and instead of waiting, got married within 2 years. So I would have a mother and Kit and Mina would have a father. I've always gotten along with Gemma. She's a sweet woman who doesn't talk much but always tries her best to be there for me when I need her. My dad always loves his stepchildren a lot and always shows up at their events. They even call him Dad, and I get along with Kit and Mina just fine too. They were too young when their mother married my father, so they thought and acted like I was their biological sister, even though they were aware that I was not. I treat them the same. At the age of 14, I had 2 siblings I've never had, and I was thrilled about it. When it was revealed that my dad was marrying a Chinese woman with 2 half-Chinese kids, it did not go over well with the family. So, my dad and Gemma got married in court to avoid issues, and my grandpa was ecstatic that he was glad that his son would not be alone forever, and the fact that he liked Gemma did not hurt. He warmed up to Kit and Mina soon as well, and he would put them in his lap and bounce them every time that they were over. I mean, not like letting anyone take away his experience of being a grandpa to toddlers one more time. He would sit with the kids in front of the fireplace and tell me how I was as a baby. My grandma did not have the same reaction. She did not like Gemma and definitely wanted nothing to do with Kit and Mina. She wouldn't even acknowledge their presence when we came over, and she would avoid all of Gemma's advances in getting to know her. But she would pointedly spoil me in front of the step-siblings, which made me really uncomfortable. Sure, Kit and Mina were too young to understand, but Gemma saw through it, and so did my father. Dad and Grandma had many arguments, and Grandma would act like she did not understand what Dad was even talking about, leaving Dad even more frustrated. She would often physically hit Kit and Mina if they got something wrong, which infuriated Dad. She had never hit him as a kid and was furious for having the audacity to hit the kids just because they were half Chinese. However, they are old enough to notice that their grandma does not play with them or even talk to them when they try. Once, Kit asked me why Grandma didn't play with them, and I didn't have a good answer. I didn't want to hurt his feelings, and explaining racism wasn't something I could do at that age, so I tried to make it up to them. I play with them at our grandparents' house when my grandpa's health wasn't the best. I steer away from Grandma so she can't be cruel. My grandma clearly did not like the fact that Gemma is Chinese and that Kit and Mina are half Chinese. I never understood why she doesn't like black people either, but treating kids like that is cold. She's clearly a racist. But I feel like there's more to her blatant hatred for Chinese people. Recently, my grandpa has been struggling with his health. His immune system has weakened a lot and he's been getting infections. He's been in and out of hospital frequently, and this has caused my grandma to lash out at Gemma with a lot of stress. Every time Gemma would make a mistake, Grandma would yell at her, calling her bad words, and I even saw Gemma cry because of it. We recently received a diagnosis for Grandpa. He has stage 4 cancer. It was a blow to the family because Grandpa had always been so strong and healthy. His health had only started to deteriorate recently. My grandpa wanted to call his lawyer to rewrite his will to include all 3 of his grandbabies. My dad told me that he mentioned wanting to do so 3 months ago and had asked Grandma to call the lawyer, but Grandma had been giving excuses for why the lawyer can't make it. When Dad realized what Grandma was doing, he called the lawyer behind her back himself. So, we went to their house on the day the lawyer was supposed to arrive. Grandma wasn't pleased that we had called him behind her back, but my dad needed to have a serious conversation with her. He told her that they need to chit-chat. Grandma was cruel and said that there's nothing to discuss, and as they had already talked about his choices, she looked pointedly at Gemma as she said those last words. Dad bluntly told her to get over it. He loved Gemma, and it was time for her to move past her stupid racial prejudice. It was the first time he had addressed her racism so directly in front of everybody, and Grandpa remained in his room unaware of the drama unfolding in the living room. I attempted to mediate, reminding her that Kit and Mina were my siblings despite being of mixed race. Her disdainful gaze remained fixed on my siblings as she replied that she had known about their mixed heritage from the beginning. My dad had had enough by then, and he bluntly told her that he wanted all his children to get equal parts of the inheritance that he already had called the lawyer, and that he would be arriving any time now. Grandmother got so angry at this point and said that my siblings would only inherit anything from her dead body. She would not let them take a single penny. Dad reminded her it's not her decision to make, that Grandpa intended to include them in his will, and he would ensure of it. Grandma then claimed that she had done nothing but tolerate their presence, blaming them for disrupting their, quote, perfect family. Dad retorted that she was the one who had disrupted the family, not Gemma, Kit, or Mina. At that moment, the doorbell rings as the lawyer arrived, and I hurried to open the door, hoping to escape my grandmother's racist comments, and while the lawyer settled in, I went to fetch Grandpa. When my grandfather arrived, my grandma could not bear it any longer and left, claiming she needed to go shopping. Without giving my grandpa a chance to object, she hurried out of the house. My dad reassured my grandpa, telling him to concentrate on rewriting this will for the, time being, that she'd be fine. Soon, my grandpa was content with the finalized will, and my grandma returned. She was polite and civil in front of my ailing grandpa as he tried to bounce little Mina on his thigh as she clung to him. He expressed his happiness, feeling as though his last wish had been fulfilled. We assured him that he would be fine, it wasn't his last wish. But, despite our reassurances that he would be okay, he wasn't entirely convinced. He looked frail. It was a bad day for him. When my dad went to put Grandpa to bed, Grandmother asked Gemma if she was happy to have ruined their family. Gemma stayed silent, but I could not. I told my grandmother to back off. It wasn't her decision to make. She glared at me as if I betrayed her, and she reminded me that she was my grandma, and that I had no right to talk to her this way, so I told her that she had no right to be a jerk either. She then yelled at Father, demanding that he keeps me on a tighter leash. However, Dad was exhausted and did not pay attention to her at that point. He told everybody to get ready to go back home. Kit was scared on the way back, asking me if Grandpa would be all right. I reassured him. I don't think I convinced him, though. Kit and Mina both would be very affected if something happened to Grandpa. That I can assure you. They genuinely love him, and he loved them back so much. I'm scared of how Grandmother will react if something happens to Grandpa as well. She would be cruel to not only allow Gemma, but the kids as well as they grew older. Her pointed comments would start making sense to them, and they would be affected by her childish, racist behavior. Top comments from the original post. Comment number 1. It's heartbreaking to read about the conflict in your family because of your racist grandmother. I'm glad that you have instead stepped up and shown love and support to your step-siblings and stepmother. I admire how your father fought your grandma to ensure that all his children were treated fair and equally. I hope that with time, your grandmother will understand the importance of love over prejudice and accept Gemma, Kit, and Mina as family. I pity her for not attempting to know Gemma, Kit, and Mina. They sounded like amazing people, and it's her loss. My thoughts and best wishes are with your grandpa as he battles stage 4. I hope he recovers swiftly. With your strength and your father's determination, I hope you overcome every single obstacle in your path ahead and just emerge stronger on the other side. Comment number 2. Most hated comment of the update. Jules, I appreciate you sharing your family situation. While it's unfortunate that your grandmother has some prejudice against Chinese people, resorting to name-calling might be counterproductive. Also, I think there might be more to her story or the reason behind her behavior that we aren't aware of. I think you or your father need to have a calm conversation with her to understand her perspective better. You should be more empathetic towards her. She's old, has deep-rooted opinions, come on. Moreover, your grandpa's deteriorating health is a devastating event, so you should give your grandmother a bit of a slack. She's probably lashing out. Either way, I wish the very best for your family in such a difficult situation. I hope your grandpa gets better and can play with Mina like he so desperately wants to. Update number 1. Hey everybody, it's Jules again. Some of you mentioned that I should try to understand where my grandma might be coming from. Initially, I scoffed, because I did not think that racism needs a reason, but I must admit she might have been onto something. It's been a week, and I have found some things that really shed even worse light on my grandmother. One of his better days, Grandpa called me over to help him clean out some of his stuff. I wished to spend more time with him, so I went over. He had some papers in the garage he wanted to be recycled, so I got to it as Grandpa instructed me from his chair nearby. While looking through some notebooks and papers, one of the notebooks fell down and some pictures fell out of it. I picked it up and saw a picture of my grandma with a Chinese man. Shocked, I looked inside and it looked like my grandmother's diary from when she was young. The picture had a Chinese man hugging Grandma from behind, and it looked very coupley. I asked Grandpa who the man in the picture was. He revealed he didn't know. I put the diary away but pocketed the picture for myself. Later that night, I noticed that there was an address right there scribbled on the back of the picture. When I realized that the place was nearby, I decided to go check it out the next day. When I arrived, I discovered a small warehouse at the address. I felt nervous about going in, but my presence did not go unnoticed. A man in his late 30s noticed me and gestured for me to approach him. With a bit of a gulp, I walked on over, and, he asked me what I was doing here. I told him I was looking for somebody and showed him the picture that I'd found. He asked me to wait while he fetched his boss. His boss turned out to be that Chinese man, not the one from the picture, though. He informed me that it was a picture of his father, Jerry. I asked if I could have a conversation with him, and he readily agreed. Jerry made it a point to check on the progress of the work every day, even though he had given the business over to his son. He was shocked to find someone waiting for him in the office. He even had some cookies, which he kindly offered me before we got to the matter at hand. I told him that I found a picture of him with my grandma. His face soured when he saw the picture, and I informed him that I was her grandchild. Jerry sighed and confessed that they have dated during their college years. He explained that he had ended the relationship because she had become excessively overbearing and bossy, making him feel suffocated due to her excessive clinginess. I asked him if she was ever racist towards him, and after some contemplation he responded that he could not recall her ever being racist towards him or any Chinese person. I thanked him. As I was about to leave, he shared a surprising detail about Grandma, her ongoing obsession with him. When I pressed for more info, he explained that when he worked here full-time, he frequently noticed a car parked nearby with somebody keeping an eye on him. It made him very uncomfortable, and he was certain it was my grandmother behind it. She still sometimes shows up at 4, which is when Jerry usually checks on his workers. So it appears my grandma's still fixated on her ex-boyfriend from nearly 5 decades ago. I'm going to reveal this to my dad. Maybe he can push some sense into her. That just because of an ex-boyfriend, she can't treat her family like this. Maybe I should show him proof of this ongoing obsession as well. Update number 2. Hey guys, it's Jules again. And before you say that following my grandma's not the best course of action, I've already done it. I collected proof of her emotional cheating on Grandpa. Let me backtrack a little. I went to meet Jerry a week ago and followed my grandma today. My grandparents' house is close to my town, so it wasn't too difficult to get there around 3 p.m. and hide outside and wait. It was so hot outside that I was considering letting the matter go, as I had been coming over every day for a week by then. But I have a teenage stubbornness, as Gemma likes to call it. When Grandma left the house today, I straightened up. As she got in the car, I took a few pictures and got ready on my bicycle to leave. I did not follow my grandma, as she would have obviously spied me following her, and I knew a shortcut that no car could fit into. I pedaled as fast as my little feet would go, hoping to get there before Grandmother was in her car. I had grossly overestimated the speed at which Grandma was likely driving. As I arrived 5 minutes before her, I'd been walking around when I spotted Grandma's car. I dove behind some bushes so suddenly that I scraped my elbow. Getting my camera ready, I took a few pictures of the car, which was unmistakably my grandma. I made sure the license plate was visible as well, and I also managed to snap a few pictures of Jerry. My grandma must have stood there just meters away from the workers for about 15 minutes, the same duration as Jerry's conversation with them outside. Once he went back inside, my grandmother started her car and drove home. I followed her using the same shortcut and took some pictures of her returning. The timestamps and the gallery details would be enough to incriminate her. When I initially told my dad about Grandma's ex-boyfriend, he wasn't too concerned. However, when I revealed that she continued to spy on him, his reaction seemed to change. His mother disgusted him after showing him the proof, and he could not believe that she would be racist towards his wife and kids just because of a past heartbreak, especially considering she still occasionally stalked that same man. He decided to share this revelation with Grandpa. I'm unsure about telling Grandpa since he's already so sick, and I don't want to bring unhappiness to him in his remaining days. However, my dad believes that Grandpa might be able to persuade Grandma to change her ways in the future. I don't know, I'm scared though. What if my insistence on getting proof backfires? I just fear that my dad's anger might turn into an act of revenge, and I don't want Grandpa to be sad, especially considering his frail, fragile health. Well, these might be his last few days. I just hope that it all ends up being for nothing. I've also asked Gemma to talk to my dad about his decision. She promised to try, and I hope that she can convince him not to tell Grandpa. Update number 3. Hey everyone, this is Jules. I have an update. It's the next day after I went to collect proof of Grandma's emotional cheating on Grandpa. Gemma was able to convince my dad not to reveal the part where Grandma went to eye her ex-boyfriend, thankfully. I asked Grandpa if he remembered the picture I found in the garage, and he confirmed that he did. I then explained that I found an address on the back of it and decided to visit. Grandpa was furious with me for going alone and reminded me of the potential dangers. I apologized for my actions, and then I revealed that I had met Jerry, the man right there in the picture. My grandma had gone white as a sheet at this point. When I shared the reason behind their breakup, that's when Grandma's anger absolutely boiled over. I told them that Jerry claimed that Grandma had been too bossy, which had made him feel suffocated because of her clinginess. My grandma asked what it had to do with anything. I pointed out that this sheds light on her blatant racism towards Gemma, Kit, and Mina, indicating that it might be linked to the fact that she never got over Jerry breaking up with her. Grandpa was confused and asked for an explanation, and I just told him about Grandma's strong negative feelings towards Gemma, Kit, and Mina. However, he didn't believe me. He tried to defend her, saying that she might come across as cold, but that did not mean she hated them. At this point, my dad decided to intervene. He confirmed my claims and revealed how Grandma had not called the lawyer he had, with the hopes that it would stop Grandpa from including Kit and Mina in the will. Horrified, my grandpa turned on my grandma and asked if this was true. Grandmother was so furious with me. She insisted that Jerry had nothing to do with it, emphasizing that she had moved on from him, and she claimed that she did not want to focus on the will while her husband was battling cancer. However, my dad brought up numerous instances when she had been unnecessarily cruel to Gemma and the kids. Grandpa was so shocked to discover that he had been blind to all of this. We reassured him that she did not act that way in front of him. That's why. Grandpa confronted Grandma and warned her that he would not give her a single penny if she continued to behave in this way. Tearfully, Grandma exclaimed that she could not believe that everybody was buying into my theory rather than trusting her. Again, emphasizing that she was over Jerry. However, I knew that was not true. She was clearly lying. She claimed it as her commitment to the family and her desire to maintain its perceived perfection. Grandpa reminded her that Gemma, Kit, and Mina did not make the family imperfect. But Grandma claimed to have done nothing wrong in wishing for her white family to remain white. Grandpa, absolutely disgusted with her racist views, shocked us all as he asked Grandma to leave the house. Grandma could not believe it, not at all. So he repeated himself one more time, making sure to say that there's no room for racist in his house. We asked him to think about it, but Grandpa remained firm and started to pack Grandma's clothes into a bag. In turn, Grandma was angry at him for behaving this way, believing him to be bluffing. Grandpa seemed to have deflated when he promptly closed the house's door in her face. We urged him to just please think about it, and he stated that he could only return if she promised to be better. Otherwise, she would not be welcome here. He could not believe that Grandma was racist and felt very, very guilty. He extended his apologies to Gemma for unintentionally causing her pain, and we learned that Grandma had gone to live with her sister temporarily. Dad supports Grandpa's decision, but Gemma and I don't like it and think it's a bit too extreme. Update number 4. Hey, it's Jules. It's been a month since my grandpa threw my grandma out of the house for her racist behavior towards his daughter-in-law and her kids. A few things have happened in that time, so let me catch you up. Lately, Grandpa has been feeling better, going on walks with his grandchildren and Gemma and spending some quality time with his son. I could tell that Grandpa missed Grandma and really hoped that she would come back with an apology. For his sake, I wish so too. My dad, on the other hand, was relieved that Grandma had been banished and would no longer be able to torment his kids. My dad and I have been helping Grandpa around the house since Grandma left, and today we were helping him with the groceries when we saw Grandma's car in the driveway. She was sitting in the vehicle and came out when she saw us approaching. Grandma approached us with a solemn expression. You see, when Grandpa asked her why she was there, she said that she had come to apologize, acknowledging her mistreatment of Gemma, Kit, and Mina. However, my dad was skeptical, believing she was only there because Grandpa wasn't going to give her any money. I agreed with him, but I also did not want my grandma to live with her sister, especially during what could be the last few months of Grandpa's life. She said that she can change and that she will try to change and understand, and Dad just scoffed, stating that she was not capable of change, especially considering not much had changed since Jerry. Grandpa looked confused, and my dad's tone made me very anxious. Dad asked me to show the proof. I looked away, not wanting to do so. He told me to give him the phone and go inside the house. Well, I reluctantly handed him the phone and ran inside as fast as I could. My dad showed my grandpa what I discovered, and that Grandma was still spying on Jerry, that she had not, and that her racism was deliberate. She was probably frustrated that she had feelings for Jerry after everything, and that's why she was taking it all out on Gemma, Kit, and Mina. At that, Grandpa got very angry. I heard him yelling even from the living room, and I felt so uncomfortable. My throat was burning. Grandpa could not believe Grandma was mistreating somebody else for things that they didn't even do. He was hurt that his wife could not move on from a man from 50 years ago, but was still spying on him. Grandma tried to defend herself, but it wasn't enough for Grandpa. My dad later revealed that Grandpa wants a divorce from Grandma, and I don't know how productive that'll be, seeing as Grandpa had cancer. However, I've been feeling very guilty ever since, wondering if I shouldn't have shown that proof to my dad. or better yet, never collected that proof in the first place. With Grandpa's declining health, I can't help but blame myself for having a hand in it. Update number 5. Hey guys, it's Jules again with what I hope to be the final update. It's been 6 months since Grandpa asked for a divorce from Grandma, and he did eventually get what he wanted. On the day of the divorce being finalized, he appeared refreshed and had been exceptionally affectionate towards Kit and Mina. I think he was hoping to love them for the grandma they didn't have in their stepmother. He even asked Gemma to cook him Chinese food, making, her feel even more included. Dad disclosed that Grandma has been living in a retirement home. Gemma did not have it in her heart to punish Grandma so severely and forced Dad to send her money every month. We have not had any contact with her in a long time, and neither of us have tried to reach out until very, very recently. Sadly, Grandpa could not hold on much longer. He passed away 2 weeks ago in the hospital, which was a difficult time for all of us. Gemma called my grandma to inform her, but she was quite rude and even blamed Gemma for Grandpa's death. When she was asked if she wanted to attend the funeral, Grandma refused, claiming that they were divorced, making it inappropriate for her to be there. I can't help but wonder if she would have come if either my dad or I extended the invitation. Grandpa, before his passing, had divided his inheritance equally among all of his grandchildren, just as he wanted. I miss him immensely. I have to go away to college in the next few weeks, and I can't imagine leaving behind my family in such a crisis. Gemma has been doing her best to get me excited about college, but we both know it's not working. I guess that's it for the update, I don't know. The guilt of having made my grandparents split is still there, but I'm grateful for Gemma, who intervened and persuaded Dad to send Grandma money even when she treated her so badly. That's it, guys. Top comments from the updates. Comment number 1. Jules, I'm deeply saddened to hear about your loss. Your grandpa sounded like an incredible man and a loving grandfather. My heartfelt condolences go out to you and your family during this difficult time. I hope you can accept that it was not your fault that your grandpa made the decision to split with his wife. It was your grandma's unfounded prejudice and mistreatment of Gemma, Kit, and Mina that was at fault. She had numerous chances to change her behavior, and yet she clung to a 50-year-old grudge, which ultimately caused these consequences. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive yourself. Your grandpa's decision was a reflection of his love for all of you. Stay strong and know that you've done the right thing by standing up for what you believe is good. Right. All the best for college, dear. Comment number 2. First of all, my condolences for your loss of your grandfather. It's hard to lose a family member you're so close to. I hope you can just get past this obstacle life's thrown at you. I agree. You should have never taken those pictures or shown them to your dad, but it wasn't all your fault. It was your father who decided to show them to Grandpa. If he hadn't, maybe your grandma would have returned and been with him in the last days. He must have loved her to have been married to her for oh so long, and getting separated from her must have hurt his heart a lot. Your father should have never done it, and I'm glad Gemma at least has a heart and has forced your father to send money to his mother. But Jules, you have nothing to feel guilty about, my dear. Alright, so let's just discuss the final comment that we just reviewed. I do want to know your thoughts about it, but here's the main question. Do you guys agree OP should not have shown those photos to OP's dad? Because that basically made all the problems start. Well, I do want to know your thoughts. Go ahead and drop in the comment section down below either yes, it was a good idea to show the pictures, or no, it was a horrible idea because we know how the story went. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me on today's video. Today's story was a wild one to say the least. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I narrate stories every single day. Drama stories, which can include inheritance dramas, mother-in-law dramas, Karen in the Wild, wedding fiasco, bridezillas, cheating stories, homeowner association nightmares. We really cover it all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Hit that subscribe button, and just remember, it's cool to be kind. Peace.